Hi, it's Amanda, the Nail Polish Hound, and welcome to another episode of the Dupe Detective. And in this episode I'm going to be looking at the dupes that I have in my collection for the new Holo Taco Pastel Rainbow collection. So I've not gone out and bought anything specifically for this video. These are just the polishes that I already had in my collection that are a little bit similar to the new Holo Taco polishes. First of all, just a little look at the collection if you've not come across it before. It is 7 linear holographic pastel polishes. And the first one we're going to look at is Pink Fizz. Well, it's called Pink Fizz anyway, but to my eyes this is a little bit more of a lilac polish than it is a pink. For each of these polishes, I'm first of all going to show them to you compared to their counterpart in the original Rainbow collection by Holo Taco, and as you can see there really wasn't anything similar to the Pink Fizz in the previous collection. I suppose the closest would be the red, but obviously it's not very close at all. So these are the pink linear holographic polishes that I had in my collection, and I'm going to swatch each one of these and then show you how they compare to the Holo Taco polish Pink Fizz. Starting off with Cloud 9 from Colour Club, and this is clearly quite a lot lighter than Pink Fizz is. But these Colour Club Halo Hues polishes do have a really strong linear holographic finish. So this is the first coat of Cloud 9. And here it is in 2 coats and a top coat. Then we have Cloud 9 on the left and Pink Fizz on the right, and you can see that it is clearly not a dupe for Pink Fizz. Next up we've got Wicked Polish Sweet as Candy Pink Holographic, and this is a little bit darker, almost like a bubblegum pink. And here we have the first coat of Sweet as Candy Pink, a little bit streaky but a good formula, and this one was fully opaque in 2 coats. Here it is in 2 coats with a top coat. And here it is on the left compared to Holo Taco's Pink Fizz on the right, and again you can see this is clearly not a dupe. The next one I had is Stronger Than You Pink by Sister Chic. This is in the bottle got a very strong linear holographic finish, but it doesn't appear quite as strong as this when you swatch it. Very pretty polish. Unfortunately, Sister Chic is not making polish anymore. And here is the first coat of Stronger Than You Pink, and as you can see it's very nearly a 1-coater, just a tiny bit of streakiness that evens out beautifully on the second. And here it is in 2 coats with a top coat. And in comparison to Pink Fizz, and you can see again it is not a dupe. Next we've got Lily Pad Lacquer's Velveteen, and this was a early lemming of mine. I picked it up very early in my nail polish collecting, and had to go to a Destash to find this one. It is a very sheer polish and you can build it up. Most of the time people will wear this over a base coat. You're seeing it here in 4 coats, and as you can see it still isn't quite opaque. It is a bit closer in shade to Pink Fizz, but it's a little deeper in tone. The next one I tried was China Glaze BFF, and I love these polishes. They do have a flatter linear holographic finish to them. You'll see that what I mean by that when you see the swatch. This is a very pretty polish indeed. So here is the first coat of BFF. These polishes dry very quickly and you have to work swiftly from one side of the nail to the other and not overwork them, otherwise they will drag. And here you're seeing 2 coats with a top coat. And again, as you can see, this isn't a dupe for Pink Fizz. Next we've got my favourite of the Halo Hues polishes, and this is Miss Bliss by Colour Club. I've put this one at the end of the pinks because this is kind of halfway between Pink Fizz and the next polish that we're going to be looking at in the Holo Taco collection. So by putting it here on the colour wheel, you'll be able to compare it against both. So here we have the first coat of Miss Bliss, and on my nails I find that this one is opaque in one coat, but on the swatch I did 2. And here it is in 2 coats with a top coat. A very strong holographic finish on this one again. And here it is in comparison to Pink Fizz, and as you can see, this one also isn't a dupe. At the end of each colour I will just quickly review all the swatch wheel again so you can see which is the closest to the Holo Taco polish. Starting off with Colour Club's Cloud 9, which is clearly a lot lighter. Then Sweet as Candy Pink, the holographic version by Wicked Polish, bit more of a bubblegum pink and less lilac. Stronger Than You Pink by Sister Chic. Velveteen by Lily Pad Lacquer, which was possibly the closest one. And BFF by China Glaze. And finally Miss Bliss by Colour Club. So that was Pink Fizz. Let's move on to the next one in the collection. This is Coral Chaser. And this was my surprise favourite of the collection. It is a lovely pinkish coral colour. I find corals difficult to wear, but when they've got quite a lot of pink in them, then they are okay. So here we have Coral Chaser on the left compared to the orange from the previous rainbow collection, Orange Drink, and you can see that they are clearly very different, and you can clearly see here as well how pink the coral is in the Coral Chaser. And these are the polishes I had in my collection that were closest to Coral Chaser, and you can see there that I've brought Miss Bliss by Colour Club back into this comparison. So first of all, here is Miss Bliss against Coral Chaser, and you can see that Miss Bliss is definitely more pink in tone. So this one's not a dupe either. Next we've got Covent Garden by A. England, and this is a lovely polish, and this one has an excellent formula, as all A. England's formulas are. On the nails this is definitely just the one coat. On the swatch stick I did use 2, and this is 2 coats with a top coat. And here is Covent Garden on the left compared to Coral Chaser on the right, and you can see this one's a pretty close dupe. The linear holographic finish is just stronger in the Holo Taco polish. Next we have TTYL by China Glaze, another polish from the OMG collection, and has the same sort of formula, that tricky formula that they have to work quite quickly with, and also has that same flat linear holographic finish. So this one is opaque on the nails in one coat, but on the swatch wheel here you're seeing it in 2 with a top coat. And you can see again how flat the linear holographic finish is compared to the other polishes. And here it is compared to Coral Chaser. It's actually a little bit more coral than Coral Chaser is, but they're pretty close apart from the difference in the finish. Just quickly reviewing those 2 polishes, again we have Covent Garden by A. England, and then we have got China Glaze's TTYL. They're both very close in colour to Coral Chaser. I think that the A. England is the closest of the 2 in both colour and finish. So now we're moving on to Peach Tea, and this one is definitely more peach toned. and less pink than the previous one, so a little bit paler and a bit more peachy, almost a sort of pale bronze in colour. And here you can see peach tea on the left compared to orange drink from the original Rainbow collection on the right. I didn't really have anything that was very close to this in my collection. These are the two that were the closest of those that I have. So the first of these is She Always Knows by Ada's Nails. This is a beautiful linear holographic finish and a very good formula. Goes on very easily in just one coat on the nails. And here is the first coat on the swatch wheel of She Always Knows, and you can see just how pigmented and opaque it is in just one coat there. Here it is with a top coat on as well. And in comparison to Peach Tea on the right, you can see that this is a lot darker, more taupe in colour. The other one that I thought might have been sort of close was her Rose Adagio by A. England. And with the A. England linear holographic polishes, they are a little bit more subtle in their finish and not quite such a strong linear holographic finish. Here is the first coat on the swatch wheel. This one was just a tiny bit streaky and does need two coats to become completely opaque. Here it is in two coats with a top coat. And then here it is compared to Peach Tea. As you can see, it's a lot lighter and again more of a taupe colour. And just a quick comparison again, we've got She Always Knows on the left by Ada's Nails, and we've got Peach Tea on the right by Holo Taco, and A. England on the left, Rose Adagio, and as you can see, neither of these are dupes for the Holo Taco polish. Then we're moving on to the yellow in the collection, and this is called Lemon Spritzer. It is almost verging on a chartreuse, I think. There's definitely some green in this yellow polish. Here it is compared to the yellow from the original Rainbow collection, Lemon Sucker. And as you can see, that is a far more vibrant and deeper, almost mustard yellow colour. So these are the only yellow-ish linear holographic polishes that I have. The only other one in my collection is Cherubic by Colour Club, which is a very pale gold holographic. And here is Cherubic in the first coat on the swatch wheel. As you can see, this one's a little bit sheer and does take two coats to become fully opaque. Here it is with two coats and a top coat. And although it's pretty clear this wasn't going to be a dupe, here it is a comparison with Lemon Spritzer. Then we have the green of the collection. It was called Mint Mojito, and this is a very pretty polish and very unusual. I don't have a lot of green nail polish in my collection, so there isn't going to be many comparisons made here either. Before I look at that, here we have got Mint Mojito against the green from the original Rainbow collection, Green Taffy. And you can see how much more saturated green taffy is in comparison, and I think Mint Mojito definitely lives up to its name. So here we have those two against the only other two linear holographic green nail polishes in my collection. And the first one we have here is the Youth by Enchanted Polish. This was recently given to me by Claire and is the only enchanted polish that I have. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of a multi-chrome finish to it as well, but it's predominantly green. And here is the first coat on the swatch wheel. It's a little bit sheer, but the formula goes on very smoothly. And then here it is in 2 coats with a top coat. And then here it is in comparison to Mint Mojito. It is a slightly darker, more sage toned green. Next we have got Mantis by Ada's Nails, and this one has quite an unusual linear holographic finish, which is a little bit more chunky. And here is Mantis in the first coat. It is almost opaque in just 1 coat. I think on the nails it would be, especially on my nails. But on the swatch wheel I did do 2 just to see if it made any difference, and it didn't. And here we have it compared with Mint Mojito. Again, not a dupe. So a quick review of these 2 polishes again. We have got the Youth by Enchanted Polish, and then we've got Mantis by Ada's Nails. Neither of these are really dupes, but I think the Youth is probably the closest. Now here's where things start to get a bit more interesting. We're going on to the blue of the collection. This is called Sparkling Water, and I think this is leaning a little bit periwinkle in colour. It's a really pretty colour, and the linear holographic finish in this one is beautiful. Here it is in comparison to Blue Freezy from the original Rainbow collection. You can see how much paler it is than that. And as you can see, I do have a bit of a thing for blue nail polishes, and these are all the lighter linear holographic blues that I have. So the first one we're going to look at is Mermaid Spell by Layla. You can just about make out the name of this polish around the top there, and this was one of the very first holographic nail polishes that I owned. It is quite sheer compared to a lot of the other polishes in this video, and it does need to be built up, but it has a very good formula. And here you're looking at 3 coats of Mermaid Spell by Layla with a top coat. And in comparison to Sparkling Water, you can see that there is that sort of more periwinkle finish, and obviously Sparkling Water is a bit darker as well, so not a dupe. Next we've got another Colour Club Halo Hues polish, and this one is Crystal Baller. I've heard a lot of people say that they think that this one is a pretty close dupe for Sparkling Water. So here you're seeing the first coat of Crystal Baller, and when I wear this one on my nails it is a 1-coater. But for the swatch wheel here I did do 2 coats, and there is a top coat on this as well. Here it is in comparison to Sparkling Water. You can see it is pretty close in colour, but you can also see just how amazing the holographic is on the Holo Taco polish on the right. The Colour Club polishes are pretty strong holographic finishes, but the Holo Taco is even stronger. Next one that we have for comparison is Lucifer's Cage by 90. Here is the first coat of Lucifer's Cage. Has a really good formula. You can see it goes on very easily and is almost opaque in just 1 coat. And here is 2 coats with a top coat. And you can see it in comparison here to Sparkling Water. It's clearly quite a lot darker. Then we have Princess Nail Lacquer's Lost in Space. And this is a pretty new polish to my collection, and looks in the bottle a little bit more grey toned. Here is the first coat. As you can see, it also has a very good formula, almost opaque in just 1 coat. And here it is in 2 coats with a top coat. You can see it is a darker, more grey toned blue. And again, you can see the same thing in the comparison with Sparkling Water, obviously nowhere near a dupe. Next up we have got Dancing with Nureyev by A. England. And this, again, you can see there's a more subtle and fine holographic finish to this polish. It is an excellent formula again, and on my nails this one is opaque in 1 coat. For the swatch wheel though, I did do 2 coats, and this is 2 coats with a top coat. And here it is in comparison to Sparkling Water, again not a dupe. And then the last one is Tonight by China Glaze, another one from the OMG collection. And here is the first coat, and again you do have to move quickly with these as they dry very fast, and you can pull the polish if you try to work it too much. So here you're seeing 2 coats of Tonight by China Glaze against Sparkling Water. It's quite close in colour, but obviously a very different finish. So here they all are, just quickly again. We've got Mermaid Spell, which is quite a bit lighter, a little bit more green toned. Crystal Baller by Colour Club, which is probably the closest. Then we have Lucifer's Cage by 90, which is a bit more sort of denim-y blue and darker. Lost in Space by Princess Nail Lacquer, which is a little bit more grey toned. And Dancing with Nureyev by A England, which is also a bit more grey toned but lighter. And Tonight by China Glaze, which is fairly close in colour, but a different finish, so not a dupe. And the last one in this new collection is Lavender Syrup, and this is the purple of the collection. It truly is more of a lavender than it is a lilac, and you'll see that with some of the comparisons that I'm going to do in a moment. Beautiful, strong holographic finish on this one. Here it is compared to the purple from the original Rainbow collection, Purple Slushy, and you can see that it is a lot lighter in colour and less saturated, but the holographic finish on this one is very strong indeed. So the first one that I tried as a comparison for this is New Romantic by A England, and when I did my comparisons to the original Rainbow collection, I had this one down as a blue, and it looks a lot more blue in real life in the bottle than it does in this footage, but when you swatch it, it's definitely more purple. It is a very strange polish in that it looks very different on the nail than it does in the bottle. So here it is in 1 coat on the swatch wheel, and it is a 1 coater. And here you can see it on the swatch wheel with 1 coat and a top coat compared to in the bottle. You can see just how different it looks in colour. And then here it is compared with Lavender Syrup, and you can see that it is quite a bit more rich in tone than the new Holo Taco polish. Next we have another one of those OMG collection China Glaze polishes. This one is IDK, and it looks pretty close in the bottle. And here we have the first coat of IDK. Very, very pretty polish indeed. It does take 2 to become fully opaque. So here it is in 2 coats with a top coat. And then in comparison with Lavender Syrup, the base colour I think is pretty close. Of course, a very different linear holographic finish. Next we have another one of the Colour Club Halo Hues. This one is called Eternal Beauty. I really love this polish. It's a beautiful purple and a lovely strong linear holographic finish. And here is the first coat of Eternal Beauty. Beautiful polish. I just wish it had a less skinny brush. And here it is with a top coat. You can see the strong holographic finish on this one. And then in comparison with Lavender Syrup, it's a little bit darker but pretty close. Then we have another one of those Layla polishes, the really early holographic polishes that I purchased. This one is called Ultraviolet, and again, as you can see, it is pretty sheer on that first coat and needs to be built up. So this is it in 3 coats, and you can see it is still not fully opaque, but the holographic finish on this is very strong. And here it is compared to Lavender Syrup, again slightly darker in tone but pretty close. Then we have another A England polish. This one is called Lady Jane Grey, and this one I had with my purple polishes, but when I swatched it, it looked a little bit more pink than it did purple. But then again, when I put it with my pinks, it looks a bit more purple. So anyway, let's see how it swatches on the swatch wheel. It has a very good formula, nice wide brush you can see there. This one's a little bit more sheer and does need 2 coats to build up to full opacity. And here it is in 2 coats with a top coat. And then in comparison to Lavender Syrup, you can see that it is a little bit too pink, and this one's definitely not a dupe. Then we have a little bit of an oddball comparison. This is One of a Kind by Girly Bits, and you can see it has got a multi-chrome finish to it, but a very strong purple shift, so that's the reason why I've included it. Here is the first coat of One of a Kind, which is I think what Girly Bits call all of their proto polishes. As you can see, it is a little bit sheer, and this one also needs to be built up. And this is 2 coats of One of a Kind with a top coat. And you can see here it is quite a bit darker than Lavender Syrup, so no dupes here either. So let's look at them all again just quickly. A England's New Romantic, which is clearly a deeper, darker purple, not a dupe. Then we have IDK by China Glaze, which is quite close in colour but a different finish. Eternal Beauty by Colour Club, which I think is possibly the closest, although it's still a bit darker. Ultraviolet by Layla, also a little bit darker but pretty close. Lady Jane Grey by A England, which is a little bit too pink toned. And One of a Kind by Girly Bits, which is a too deeper purple. So when I did this comparison, I realised that Lady Jane Grey was more pink in colour, so I compared it to Pink Fizz, and I think it's actually a closer dupe to Pink Fizz than any of my pink polishes were. So here's a little recap of what I thought were probably the closest dupes that I had. So first of all, Lady Jane Grey by A England is a fairly close dupe for Pink Fizz. Then A England's Covent Garden was very close to Coral Chaser, just a slightly less holographic finish. Enchanted Polishes, The Youth was the closest that I had to Mint Mojito. I think that Eternal Beauty by Colour Club was the closest to Lavender Syrup, and Crystal Baller by Colour Club was the closest to Sparkling Water. So here we have all my closest dupes to the new Holo Taco collection. Am I going to destash any? So when I looked at the colour wheel again, I realised that Covent Garden was actually very close and not a colour that I wear very often, although I do really like it. So I have decided that I'm going to destash the A England polish. Because the other two are very close in colour but had got very stark differences in their finish. Then looking at the greens, they are quite similar, and I don't wear green nail polish very often. I haven't yet worn the Enchanted polish, so I am going to wear that one and see how much I like it, but I might be destashing that one. And then when I looked at the blues, I realised that I do have 3 blues that are fairly similar in colour, and I'm not sure that I need all 3 of these, so I'm going to wear those and decide which ones I prefer and if I'm able to destash any of them. But I do love my 90 and my Princess Nail Lacquer polishes, so they're going to be difficult to destash. Then finally, from the purples, we have Colour Club's Eternal Beauty and Layla's Ultraviolet, which were pretty close in colour and also both pretty close dupes for Lavender Syrup, so I've decided I'm going to put the Layla polish aside and put that one into my project polish at some point to try and use it up, because it is a very old polish. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found the comparisons helpful. If you have, please give me a like and maybe subscribe to my channel, and then I'll see you in the next one.